Hello and welcome back to Life's Biggest Questions. I'm McPhee. The Thunderbird is a popular figure in the mythology of indigenous tribes across North America. Specific beliefs vary, but the idea of a bird bringing with it rain, thunder, and lightning is very popular. Most people nowadays believe it to just be a legend, but what if it was real? What if there was a Thunderbird flying around to this day? Let's explore. If you want more what if videos, check out our biggest what ifs playlist on the channel. Now get ready, it's time to ask the question, what if the Thunderbird was real? Beliefs about the Thunderbird vary a great deal from tribe to tribe, but it is generally believed to be an enormous bird that causes thunder with the flapping of its wings. How big is this bird? Well, according to some tribes, it's large enough to lift a killer whale from the water, like an eagle would carry a fish. So, yeah, it's kind of a big deal. Many iterations of the Thunderbird see it as a godlike creature, and while most believe it brings thunder with it, other tales say that it is accompanied by lightning as well. Some believed that it brought with it storms that would allow crops to grow and plants to bloom. It's relatively easy to follow the logic that started this belief. Thunder has long been assumed to be related to the gods or powerful beings, and thunderstorms tend to become more prevalent at the beginning of spring. When things begin to bloom, crops grow, and animals return. It makes sense that one would assume this great unexplained noise would be bringing about the changes that come with spring. This is an example of the post hoc fallacy, where you assume that since something happens after another thing, it must have happened because of the other thing. But I digress. Let's step away from the origins of this belief and explore a world in which this legend was actually true. Believe it or not, this idea of a bird flying around changing the weather is not a first for LBQ. We previously did a video on the Pokemon Lugia, who brought about great winds as it flapped its wings. However, in Lugia's case, it would have caused significantly more destruction, and it also had a home deep in the ocean, so a world with a Thunderbird could be rather different. For one, the way we experienced thunderstorms might change. This would largely depend on one big question: would all thunder and lightning be caused by the Thunderbird, or would the Thunderbird simply cause additional thunder and lightning? If the latter, then not much would change. The vast majority of thunder and lightning we saw would be due to a natural phenomenon, just like it is now. So for the purposes of making a more interesting video, we'll assume this isn't the case. So if all thunder and lightning was caused by the Thunderbird, this would change the way the world views the phenomena a great deal. Every thunderstorm would have people rushing to their windows hoping to catch a glimpse of the Thunderbird, maybe even rushing outside to snap a sweet photo. It would basically be like playing Pokemon Snap, with everyone trying to get the Thunderbird in the center of the frame, doing a cool pose. This would also change weather around the world a great deal, since there could only be thunder occurring in one place at a time. This would make these storms much less frequent, and would further exacerbate the scrambling to get a good photo of the Thunderbird, since you wouldn't know when your next chance would be. This would cause storms to be at once more predictable and less predictable. They'd be more predictable because you could just follow the flight of the Thunderbird to know where storms would hit. However, the Thunderbird would probably change direction somewhat more often than clouds, so you might expect a storm to hit one place, but it will suddenly end up somewhere else entirely. Of course, it should be noted that all this is assuming rain could still occur without the Thunderbird. If rain also depended on the creature, this would have huge effects on the world, and could result in drought if the bird didn't fly around evenly. Human history would be greatly affected, especially if the Thunderbird had favorite areas to visit. Those places would become far wetter, with swamps and pools forming where none may have been. At the same time, areas avoided by the Thunderbird would become very dry, with deserts forming and new species migrating to or from them. This would greatly affect the way human and animal populations were distributed, with much greater density near bodies of fresh water. In modern times, it's possible that we would attempt to work around this in a few ways. For one, it's possible that we would attempt to draw the Thunderbird to places that needed water. If we found a way to attract it to certain areas, we could map out a path for it to follow that would fit our needs. It's also possible that this would spur on scientific development in the movement of water, and learning to draw it and distribute it from larger bodies of water. Transportation and procurement of water would be prioritized in hopes of dealing with a potential lack of rain. Both these methods would be effective at getting water to populated areas experiencing drought, but could also be very useful in changing certain environments to be more suitable for life. And now we return to our question, what if the Thunderbird was real? Well, if all thunder and lightning was caused by this bird flying around, it would change the way we saw thunderstorms. They would become a time of great glee, with people clamoring to snap a great photo of the thing. Storms would become less common, as they would simply follow in the wake of this great bird, and could occur in just one place at once. Furthermore, if rain also depended on the Thunderbird, ecosystems around the world would change depending on its preferences. This would change the distribution of animals around the world, and would lead to various strategies made to acquire water, both through manipulation of the bird and through scientific means. Thank you for watching Life's Biggest Questions. I hope this was interesting and informative, and maybe even inspired you to look into it further on your own. If you like this video, please thumbs up and subscribe to the channel down below. While you're down there, let me know what you would do if you could ride a Thunderbird. Until next time, I'm McPhee with Life's Biggest Questions, wishing you the best of luck on your quest for answers.